Hello everyone. It is May 5th. I am in Baltimore County, Maryland, inside a very special place, a bamboo forest, a very lovely bamboo forest, one of my favorites in this area, one that I'm always visiting in this area. And it's early May, so early May, for me at least, in the Mid-Atlantic throughout the Southeast, is the special time inside the bamboo forests. Bamboo is always special and near and dear to my heart. Early May through mid-May, kind of to the end of May, but really starting in early May is bamboo shoot season. Okay, so this is the time of year when all the early spring greens have come up. A lot of them are already going to seed and dying back down, and we are now entering the time of the spring shoots. Is really, mid to late spring is the time of the perennial shoots, which are this other wave of wild vegetables, and that includes for me bamboo shoots, pokeweed shoots, milkweed shoots, and others. It's a very exciting time. It's another huge wave of abundance of wild vegetables that are very exciting. So bamboo, I will just say bamboo is probably, the Great Spirit has blessed humans with the existence of bamboo. It is one of the most magical of plants for us humans. It is useful in 100 million bazillion ways. Like you could just live from bamboo. It's an incredible plant, very demonized plant, at least in cultures in the US, mainstream cultures. This has been a very demonized plant for a long time. So many efforts to eradicate it, and unfortunately those efforts have also meant that a lot of people have unknowingly tried to eradicate river cane, which is a small sized bamboo looking plant with very thin canes that actually has been in the southeast of North America for an extremely long time, thousands of years. And was a traditional basket making plant, among other things, in the southeast. So that's very unfortunate, just that anything that has a cane is very demonized in our culture. It's so wrong. It breaks my heart. So bamboo forests are precious. They're absolutely precious to me. One of my favorite plants. Being inside a bamboo forest, it's like being a little kid. I mean, the world completely changes. You're safe. You can have a little house in here. But right now, I'm not going to talk about all the other ways you can use bamboo. I'm just going to be talking about food. So I'm going to switch the camera and we're going to take a look at what's coming up right now. So right now we are looking at the forest floor of the bamboo forest. Pretty typical. There's a lot of debris because this bamboo is cut frequently by humans. Some bamboo forests are more open, some are more dense. But as you can see, this bamboo, it's not the giant, thick Japanese timber bamboo, which does grow in the southeast. But it is not the little thin spindly kinds of bamboo either. There are an enormous number of species of bamboo and varieties of species of bamboo that grow in the world. It's truly mind-boggling. This particular kind of bamboo has very green, very sturdy, relatively thick diameter canes. This is pretty normal and average for this type of bamboo. Over the years I thought I had keyed out its species. I was calling it golden bamboo for some time. Then I would figure out, oh, that's wrong. I really can't tell you at this point that I know exactly what the species is, but it is the same that I find all throughout the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. Is the same species is the one that will grow these dense isolated patches like this. that humans keep small by sort of constantly cutting them back. So this is the exact same bamboo that I'm eating every year in many different states, actually, from the North Georgia mountains all the way up here to Maryland. So let's take a look down here. And you may not notice, in early May, if you're walking through a bamboo forest and you find that you trip, you suddenly are tripping over everything because there are these little tiny spikes coming out of the ground. And here we have a very young shoot just popping out of the ground. And the forest floor is covered in those right now. Absolutely, you can barely take a step without stepping on one. So the shoots of this species of bamboo are very purple. They tend to be always sort of purple and yellowish cream striped, with very purplish pink on the top there. And this is not ready yet. And as I walk around, I will show you that pretty much all the shoots coming out of the ground right now, it's only just this very tip. It's only maybe 2 inches. Not much is coming out of the ground yet. But these colors, the striped purple and creamy yellow, that's the species of bamboo that I am eating as my bamboo shoot throughout these regions. So you can see that the shoots are relatively fat. They're nothing like the super fat shoots that are harvested in China and Japan and throughout East Asia. But you can tell that, these aren't like spindly finger width shoots. They're pretty beefy, but they're still a little bit short. See, it's a bit squatty. What I really want are shoots at least this big in diameter and, gosh, at least 6 inches long. Anywhere between sort of 6 inches and 10 inches tall, roundabout. So I really want the shoot to be more like up to here, and it will be much fatter at the base at that point. But as we look around, every single shoot I come upon is very low. Here's another one just popping out, just barely, barely, barely. And I have looked all around the bamboo forest here, and this one is probably the biggest one so far, which is still quite small. So today is not quite the day. They are popping, which is very exciting. But here's the thing, once they start to pop, bamboo shoots grow so fast within a day. So honestly, a lot of these shoots by tomorrow will probably be harvesting size. You don't have a lot of time to dilly-dally once they start to come up. Gosh, I saw one around here and then I lost it. So most of these shoots, I'm not going to harvest today. Most of these shoots will probably be ready tomorrow or the next day. Look at this big clump. Amazing. So if you're in a bamboo forest near you, a bamboo forest, you want to check up on it, visit now. Go in there, look around, see if you can find nice fat shoots popping up. They hide. But these, yeah, maybe tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to come back. And that is going to be the prime time for this forest to be having its bamboo shoots. So it is fast. You really got to check up on your bamboo patch pretty much every day. And probably starting tomorrow or the next day, the shoots here are going to be prime and coming up. You maybe have 2 weeks, maybe, from the time the bamboo shoots are really fat and great for harvesting until the time when they are all too tall and there's no more shoots left. So it's a thin window, and each bamboo forest, even within one county, does behave a little bit differently and have its own timeline. So we're gonna check back in a couple more days and see how they're going. Bye-bye. You know what, guys? I changed my mind because some of these shoots are just barely, they're big enough for a teaser for me. So I'm going to do a little pre-harvest. It's not full-on harvest time, but I just want to show you. I'm going to go for it. I'll cook up a tiny pot at home just to celebrate bamboo season. Whew. All right, so there all I did was just push. You don't need to dig, you don't need to cut them. You just push. Push on a shoot. I'm just choosing the largest ones right now, which aren't that big. And it's going to snap because it is meristem. This is the meristematic portion of the bamboo right now. Young, tender. The cell walls haven't toughened. This is all very tender. Here's what it looks like. Creamy white. Give it a smell. Oh, it smells so delicious. One of the best smells of spring. You can see those purple and cream stripes. There they are. So beautiful. So I am just going to harvest a few and bring them home, and I'll either show you a video of cooking these at home or wait a few more days and get some bigger ones. But I'm just going to collect maybe 3 or 4 or 5 that are this size, and that's just going to be my first little taste of the season. So wonderful. Okay, bye-bye. So here's just a look at the harvest I just did today. I did get a little bit more than I thought that I would because some of them are looking pretty good. So this is a pretty good size for a first day's harvest of the season. You know, maybe I've got about a dozen of them. And some of them, when I snapped them, they kind of broke deep inside the shoot. That's okay, that's fine. You know, some of them snapped pretty cleanly right at the base there. So that's what I've got going on. Here's the leaves if anybody wants to take a look at those. If anyone is much better at grass taxonomy than I am. I'm a big taxonomy dork, but not with grasses, including bamboo, which is a grass, and the Poaceae, the grass family. If anyone is interested in trying to key out this bamboo, there's some of the beautiful leaves and twigs. And here's what the bamboo forest looks like from the outside. Da, 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 da. Here on the edge of this community garden. It's fabulous! Alright, see you guys in the kitchen. Hey everyone, I'm back at the apothecary, and the whole apothecary smells like lilac and gardenia right now because I brought back a flower of both. Oh my god. Okay, so we're back with our bamboo shoots. Whole bag of bamboo shoots here, small bag, and we need to have a bamboo shoot talk. So this is a subject, cooking bamboo shoots is a subject that can sometimes be complicated, confusing to people, sometimes scary. So what I'm giving you now is essentially exactly what I teach every year in my wild plant classes and workshops and plant walks. So this is my bamboo shoot rundown, straight from me. So here's the deal. You're going to hear, you know, if you Google or talk to people, you're going to hear people say things like, oh gosh, you know, bamboo shoots can really make you sick. They can poison you. Bamboo shoots contain cyanide. Or things like, oh yeah, I just eat bamboo shoots raw. Or I met these folks from East Asia on a walk one day, and they said they just shuck the bamboo shoots and cut them and stir fry them for 15 minutes in some ginger, and that's how they prepare it. So here's the deal, is that, as I mentioned before, there are so many different species of bamboo on the planet, and most of the Asian world really, you know, the Asian world is the kingdom of bamboo, really, for the most part. So most Asian cultures have deep-rooted traditions and culinary traditions of preparing bamboo shoots that are specific to the bamboo species, singular or plural, that are in that region. Maybe even the specific variety of those species that is in that region. So the first thing to understand is that there's incredible diversity in bamboo, right? All bamboo is not the same. But here's the broad explanation is simply that bamboo across the board is known phytochemically to contain something called cyanogenic glycosides. Cyanogenic, cyanogenic glycosides, which basically is cyanide, which is a poison, right? That sounds scary, but the fact is that an enormous amount of traditional wild plant foods do contain chemicals that we think of as poisons, right? Like wild cherry bark and pits, containing arsenic, and apple seeds containing arsenic, things like that. Pokeweed shoots containing phytolocatoxin, which can make you throw up. So for one, it's good to chill out and just remember that an enormous amount of plants have some degree of either toxins or anti-nutrients in them. An anti-nutrient just being something that inhibits the digestion of that plant for us, inhibits the absorption of certain benefits, nutrition from that plant, or can aggravate our systems to a certain degree. That's kind of part of the package of being a human on planet Earth. That's part of the package. That subject is a reason why ancient traditions of preparing foods are monumentally important. Okay, so, the specific food dishes in this region to that region, the way a plant is prepared, the way it's cooked, for how long, with what other spices with it, how it's dried. Our modern world thinks of like, oh, that's just because, it makes it taste this way, and then to prepare it another way makes it taste that way, and it's all harmless, and it's all just about entertainment, different flavors. And that could not be furthest from the truth. I mean, certainly that's an aspect of different culinary traditions, is that, yeah, you get different flavors and different sensory experiences, yeah. But the deeper importance is that the ancient ways of preparing that food can do very important things, like remove potentially very toxic poisons from that plant, or to break down or pre-digest anti-nutrients in that plant. This is one of the reasons why wheat, traditionally, after wheat was harvested, it was cut, gathered, and then the whole stalks of the wheat with the wheat berries on it kind of piled up in these cones out in the field, kind of wrapped up, and essentially just allowed to rot a tiny bit in the field with the moisture and the weather for however long, which kind of allowed maybe some enzymatic activity, maybe some bacterial activity, whatever it was, to kind of start pre-digesting the wheat a little bit, right? Then it's dried and processed, taken inside, and something like that would be removing some of the anti-nutrients in wheat that actually make it hard to digest, right? And therefore make a bread that is far more nutritious and digestible and assimilatable than, just a real quick and simple modern method of doing it. So, with bamboo, when I was a lot younger and I was first finding wild bamboo and falling in love with it, and I'd always been in love with bamboo since I was a little kid. It's been one of my favorite plants. It's just closest to my heart. And as an adult, when I realized, like, oh my gosh, these are bamboo shoots. How do I eat these? I did a lot of research, and it was actually very, very difficult to find information for me on how to cook bamboo shoots that was written in the English language, because I certainly wasn't able to translate Mandarin. So I did a lot of digging at the time, and I was nibbling on raw bamboo shoots here and there. Like when you pick these, they smell so good that sometimes I will just take a teeny weeny bite of it fresh, just to experience it. What you shouldn't taste, if you do take a teeny weeny nibble raw, what you should not taste is extreme bitterness. If it has extreme bitterness, it's probably not going to be a very good bamboo shoot to eat. These taste fairly mild. I'm not going to just go chomping on these raw though. So when I did do that digging, eventually I did find a good paper on cyanogenic glycoside levels, how they react to cooking in bamboo shoots. So some varieties of bamboo are grown specifically for the shoots to be eaten raw because they have essentially a zero level of cyanogenic glycosides in them. So you can just eat them raw. And some varieties are grown and known to be able, like you can just stir fry them for 15 minutes. And, you know, the cyanogenic glycoside levels are so low to begin with, just a little bit of cooking eliminates them. But here's the thing for me, you know, I'm like a wild child traveling all over the place and harvesting from bamboo patches that maybe nobody else is harvesting from. They might be in the middle of rural North Georgia, right? Where not a soul has eaten those bamboo shoots from that patch for 100 years or maybe ever since it's been there. There's no Asian population there. So I don't know what the cyanogenic glycoside level is in this particular species of bamboo. And I don't know if it varies patch to patch. Like, does it depend on the soil and things and environmental factors like that? So in this great paper that I read, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, and I might try to find it. If I can, I will try and see if it still exists and dig it up. And if I do, I'll include it in the info on this video. But the sum up is that cyanogenic glycosides in bamboo shoots are destroyed, denatured by heat, so by cooking, typically by boiling. And that, you know, the levels of cyanogenic glycosides in bamboo shoots starts to drop off as soon as you cook it. At a certain point, they kind of reach essentially a negligible level of cyanogenic glycosides. And that drop-off point that happens where all of a sudden it just kind of drops to essentially nothing is at the 2-hour mark. So 2 hours of heat of cooking. That sounds like a lot. Like, I gotta cook my bamboo shoots for 2 hours just to make sure I don't poison myself? Maybe that sounds like a lot, except that there are many traditions in Asia where the traditional way in that village of cooking the bamboo shoots there is to get a big pot and make a little fire, put the pot over the fire, pile in a whole bunch of bamboo shoots in there, put a lid on it, and kind of just, you know, walk away. Tend the fire a little bit, but kind of just let it smolder and come back to it the next day. So the bamboo shoots have kind of been simmering, you know, maybe for 12 hours, you know, a long time. But it's just kind of a chill, casual thing, you know, and then come back the next day after the pot's all cool and take them out. And these could be big bamboo shoots, and then they're tender and delicious. So this is the way that I have always cooked and processed this bamboo shoot. And I can tell you, I don't just eat a little nibble of these or chop up one and throw it in a stir fry once a year. I mean, on years when I'm harvesting bamboo shoots, I mean, it's like I'm harvesting a pile this big every day, you know, and ideally cooking them for lots of other people because it's a great celebration, bamboo shoots for me, because they have such a short window. You know, it's like a 2-week, for one patch, maybe has a 2-week window. If you have maybe 3 different bamboo patches in your region, they might all have slightly different timelines. So maybe you've got, if you stretch it, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month of time to be harvesting bamboo shoots locally where you are. Likely not that much. So it's a great celebration to, like, oh, celebrate the bamboo shoots for that little while. So I had eaten, you know, like I will sit down and just eat a mountain of bamboo shoots and celebrate it with other people and eat them every day, you know, for weeks. So I've eaten a lot of these bamboo shoots and I've never gotten sick or had any issues from it. And I had never actually heard a first-hand account of anyone getting sick from eating wild bamboo shoots. I had met other people that I'd talked to who would occasionally harvest some and just chop it up and throw it into a stir fry for 10 or 15 minutes and didn't experience any bad symptoms. But then there was someone here in the Baltimore community who did get quite sick. I think last year. She told me, I wasn't here. But likely the species, because this is the only one that grows in this area that I know of. Maybe it could have been growing in a polluted place, but from the way she described it, it did sound like she experienced a poisoning, like ate a bunch, cooked for not too long. I can't quite remember, but maybe like for 15 or 20 minutes, ate some and then experienced severe sickness for like 24 hours or something, like scary, scary sickness. So, it can be real. You don't want to go through poisoning from bamboo shoots. So here's what I do. I boil them for 2 hours minimum. That's what I do. I make it my rule. Because I'm like, I don't know what the cyanogenic glycoside level is in this. So I'm going to eliminate the guess game. I'm going to eliminate the stress from my life and the variabilities of all these different bamboo forests. And honestly, for me, it takes that long for bamboo shoots to really get tender. And I like them just tender, fully cooked, fragrant. If you cook them just a little bit or raw, they're kind of crunchy. They're just not that like soft, well-cooked bamboo shoot, which is one of my favorite vegetables. Bamboo shoots they're really one of my favorites. So to me, it's a win-win. So I just cook a lot at once. It's not like, I just harvest 3 shoots and throw them in a pan and cook them for dinner that night. It's like, no, I'm harvesting a lot at once. I'm cooking a lot at once. Once they're cooked, you can store them in a refrigerator for a few days or a week. I did can a bunch one year, many, many years ago. I guess you could pickle them. I've never done that. But ideally, share them, invite people over, share them with people, get them eaten up. So that's what I do. And I'm going to show you how I do it close up. Let's see if there's anything else important. And this is what I have taught in my plant classes for, I don't know, maybe going on 7 years now or something. So I've done this with lots of people, lots of different students in many different classes and groups throughout the years. And eaten these bamboo shoots with even from this one patch, eaten them with many other people before. Some of those people went on to really love it and prepare it that same way year after year and love it and enjoy it. And I never had a sickness story ever come back from that, come back my way. So to me that says something. And they're delicious, so good. Okay, so we're going to switch and zoom in. So here on the counter, I've got all my bamboo shoots ready. What you need is a really sharp knife, quite a sharp knife, and a big pot of water. So I already have a pot here, already filled with water. A couple shoots in there. Ordinarily, honestly, I'm usually using something more like this, like big old guy. Sometimes when there's so many shoots in it, they tend to float. So sometimes I put a rock on top of it to keep them all under the water. But this will be enough for our shoots for today. So here's what I do to get these ready to cook. So I'm going to make 2 cuts in each bamboo shoot. The first is going to be a diagonal cut right at the top. You don't necessarily have to do this. I always do. I think it just helps them cook through faster and better. So it's going to be a diagonal cut right there, which is going to be hard for me to do with my one-handed camera woman act going on here. But basically that's what I'm doing. I'm just cutting off the little top tip, just like that. And then it's going to look focusing issues. Well, you get the idea. Looks like that on the inside. You can see all the layers of, it's almost like corn. It's like shucking corn. All the layers of, I don't know what you call these botanically. I don't know, leaves. So that's what I'm going to do to each one is I'm going to cut off the tippy top there at an angle. Then I'm actually going to make a shallow vertical slice all the way down the length of the bamboo. And that's just to get inside the chambers of the bamboo shoot inside to help water get in there and it cook faster. So it's a slit. A slit down like that. And I've already done it on this shoot right here. You can see I just cut a thin little slit. And I didn't go all the way through the bamboo shoot. See, I went like halfway through. Just a slit, just to help them cook a little bit faster. So that's what I'm doing to each one. Cut off the little top, a slit lengthwise, and then in the pot of water. So that's what I'm going to do to all of them. I don't know if... Yeah, I don't think I can hold the camera and do it at the same time. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I'll get back to you. Somewhat of a view, at least you can see me do it. Slicing off the top, making a slit down the length, just like that. And gosh, like, you gotta smell these after you slice into them. Oh gosh, they're almost floral and sweet. Oh, so good. Now here's all the bamboo shoots after slicing. They're all in the pot. There's enough water in there such that when I push down, they can be submerged in the water. You will notice that they float because bamboo shoots, if you've never seen them, you will once they're done cooking. Inside, they have all these little chambers inside the inner meat of the shoot, which are full of air. So they float. It's not a huge issue with a pot this small, but sometimes, if I have like a large pot just full of shoots, sometimes they float so much that like, they almost want to pop out of the pot. So you just got to be creative. Like I said, sometimes on a big pot, like I'll put like a plate on top of them all and then like a big rock on top of the plate to just like keep them under. So whatever you can dream up. So all I'm going to do is bring these to a roaring boil. So I'm not going to hard roaring boil these for 2 hours. Okay, all I'm going to do is bring this all up to a roaring boil, then put a lid on it, turn the heat on low, and with the lid on, let them simmer for about 2 hours, at least 2 hours. It's fine if you go longer, but yeah, I typically turn the heat off at about 2 hours. So not an hour and a half, not an hour and 20 minutes, okay? Remember that graph that I told you guys about the cyanogenic glycoside levels decreasing over time? It's not like a gradual decrease, kind of like, you keep cooking it, the levels go down and down and down. According to this paper, it was kind of significant. Like the hour and a half mark was like, still a good amount of levels. But the difference between the hour and a half mark and 2 hours was actually very significant. So don't skimp. Full 2 hours, make the 2 hours your minimum. Okay, so I will show you that once they come to a boil. Bye-bye. So we are back. The pokeweed shoots, the bamboo shoots, as you can see, are now certainly at a boil. I'm cooking pokeweed too, cooking lunch at the same time. They're definitely at a boil, and they're staying under the water enough because there's not that many in here, so that's fine with me. Pretty good. So, yep, like I said, all I'm gonna do is put the lid on and bring it down to a simmer, and I'll check on it and just make sure that it is simmering the whole time. For 2 hours. Here we go. Intermission. God, doesn't that look good? garlicky pokeweed. Pokeweed is not one of my favorite vegetables. However, I am so happy. It is so magical when pokeweed arrives in the spring and makes its appearance. It's one of the many celebrations of spring. So even if I don't eat it every day of the spring, even if I only eat it a few times in the spring, I do it as a celebration. But God, you got to admit, it's good looking stuff. Hello everyone. It has been a few hours now, and these bamboo shoots simmered for probably like 2.5 hours, and then I turned off the heat and they've been maybe sitting for another half hour. Honestly, most of the time, especially because I'm usually cooking big pots, once I turn off the heat, I'm often just letting it sit with the lid on overnight, right? Because it takes that long for it to cool down anyway, and then I'm shucking the bamboo shoots the next day. But you certainly can eat them fresh. Let's see how they look. Ooh, they look so good. I hadn't even opened the pot yet. And let's take a look. See how it's hot. Pink. The water has turned very pink. Oh, let me smell. Oh my God, good God. That smell is just, this is the first time I've smelled this smell this year. It is one of the best smells in the entire world. It is like artichoke mixed with sweet corn, but 10 times better than both of them. Oh my gosh. It's just, it's the best smell. So let's just take one out so we can take a look-see. They are delicious when they're hot. Woo-hoo! But, we'll let the rest of this pot cool down. You can see how dark the liquid got. That's pretty normal. That's what I expect. So yes, they're very hot to handle at this point. You certainly should let them cool longer. But I'll just show you if I can even. It's so hot. I'm going to change camera views and just show you shucking the bamboo shoot, which is very simple. Okay, as you can probably tell by the video, it is now nighttime. But yeah, even ordinarily, during classes, if we're going to be doing bamboo shoots that day, I would boil this whole pot the day before, let it sit overnight, and then bring it to class the next day, right? So we can harvest fresh bamboo shoots, start cooking them, but have some already ready to go. So here's the thing, bamboo shoots are a little bit like artichokes, for one, in that they really benefit from a nice long cooking to get really tender. But in the other way, in that as you are shucking them, there is a little bit of tender eating portion in these little shucking parts. So this is going to be a little unsightly, but you can sort of, a little bit from the bottom there. Keep shucking it, and the more that you shuck, the more tender each one will be. Let's see how that one is. Oh, you guys, it's so good. You see what I'm doing there? I'm eating it like an artichoke. Like that. Pretty good, pretty good. I can keep shucking it. And, I can keep eating these delicious layers here as I go. But eventually I'm going to get to the heart, just like, ooh, it's hot. Just like an artichoke heart. See, just look how beautiful that is coming off. It's so tender, this part right here. Eventually what you're left with is this beautiful bamboo shoot heart. And you can see, because I sliced it, there's the inside. So those are all the chambers I was talking about. Okay, so this shoot here, everything that's inside of here is the equivalent of an entire mature cane of bamboo. Isn't that amazing? So when you see mature canes of bamboo, they have those joints in them, right? And those joints are usually about a foot apart or 2 feet apart. So every one of these little lines here is one of those joints, is a node of a bamboo cane, but they're all scrunched together, right? So the shoot will elongate immensely and become an entire cane, very, very quickly, within a matter of a few weeks or a month, honestly. So there's the vegetable here. And I will switch views again. So here is another view of one of the bamboo shoots. And here's some of the shuckings, like I mentioned. Again, the larger shuckings will have tender portions here to eat. And I like to, dip them in some dippings. Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh, it is so good. They're so tender. They're so fragrant. I know food videos have got to be not very visually appealing, but you guys get the idea. And the smaller shuckings are just going to be so tender. Like these, almost all of this is tender. Oh my gosh, so good. Like really, I just ate almost all of it. So those are the tender shuckings, which are a lot like artichoke leaves. They're not really leaves, but we call them. And then here's the inside of the heart of the bamboo shoot. I love eating bamboo shoots warm, like finger food, straight in some dipping. It's great to sit around a table with, silly cat, sit around a table with other people and just, shuck shoots together and make a mess and just eat them warm. It's a wonderful thing to do. So all of the top portion is going to be really tender. Everything from here down is going to be super tender. At a certain point, depending on when you broke the shoot, when you were harvesting it in the woods, depending on where it broke, there may be some of this bottom section may be tough. And you'll tell as you bite into it, like, oh, tender, tender, tender. And as you get down to here, you might notice, oh, that's tough. So, the edible portion might only be that much instead of that much. But you'll be able to tell with your teeth. So my favorite is to dip the fresh warm hearts into a mixture of half and half tamari and vinegar, like a rice vinegar. Oh, that's just my favorite dipping. Sadly, I don't have any tamari here, so this is just straight vinegar. Some of my homemade American persimmon vinegar, which, it's pretty good. But you can also do, just like some people like artichokes, to do a cup of melted butter. Dip them in there. Really anything you can dream up. So that's usually what I do. Let's have a taste of this one. Oh my gosh. Oh, it is so good. It's so tender and fragrant. All right, I'll stop chewing. Well, let's see. Let's see how much of it is tender. Yes, even though I bit about that much, I could tell it's starting to get tougher down here. So, the most tender portion is just that. So, you can eat them fresh like this. They're so wonderful. Or at this point, of course, you could, shuck a whole pot of them, shuck them all at once to get a bunch of hearts like this. And then you have a bowl saved, ready to go for some other recipe. You could then throw these into a stir fry or curry or any type of recipe you can imagine. And, you can slice them in all kinds of fun ways. They're pretty goofy looking things. Like little dinosaur parts. They're so amazing. But yeah, you'll be able to feel when you're cutting them. After you bite into a few, you'll get a feel for like, oh, I need to cut that much off before I throw this into another recipe. So there it is. There it is. Ordinarily I would say, I hope this video has been helpful, except that I know it's been helpful because, gosh, I just feel like there's so little resources out there for just wild harvesting bamboo shoots here in this part of the country. Maybe there is now, I just don't know it. So I encourage you all to get out there. If you're in these regions, get out there. If you know a bamboo patch, give it a try. Give it just, even if you just want to cook 1 or 2 or 3, give it a try. If you're on Patreon and you have questions, some of you I'm sure may have questions, you can ask them in the comments on Patreon. Yeah, I hope you guys get out there. There's the bamboo shoot lesson. Bye-bye. Just one more note I forgot to say is that, just FYI, like, these hearts are never going to get mushy. They're never going to get overcooked like a potato. Okay, so bamboo shoots, they always keep a firm texture. So, if you cook it for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours or let it simmer overnight, you don't ever have to worry about overcooking it. They stay very, very firm, which is why, like I said, it takes them this long just to get this level of soft and tender. So, yeah, you definitely never have to worry about that. They just seem to love the long, slow cooking. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye for real. Hey again, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to support these videos and help me keep making these possible and you're not already, please head on over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/stormsofdaylight. That info will be in the info for this video. If you want more videos like this, you can become a higher tier patron and get extra videos every month. I am still going to aim to put out, at least a few new free public videos every month for everybody. So you can support that, in multiple ways. And please share the word. Bye-bye. Oh, it's just so good. They're so good. They're so good.